Hello, everybody. Welcome to day 16 of the course. Hope everybody had a good weekend. Okay, so we're going to continue on moving through our second chapter, which is going to be basically how things transport back and forth inside and outside the cell. I mean, we've already built the cell now. Now our focus now is on basically how the cell runs. Okay, so there's a couple things. One, I've asked you to do that one assignment about basically comparing how a cell is very similar to a city. We're going to make that due this Friday. Okay, so your lab reports are due today. Those should be in by the end of the day today. And if you've got them already in, that's fantastic. But definitely the other assignment, which is going to be chapter 2 or activity 2, assignment 1, which is how the cell's like a city, and then there's a couple other questions. We're going to make that due on Friday. All right, so what I'm going to ask you to do today, I'm not going to ask you to do too much work because again you have that lab report due. You can be working on your summary, which I'm not asking you to hand in, but it's more of just summarizing what happened in activity 1. And then the first assignment of activity 2. Now, what we're going to do today is on Friday, I asked you to watch that video, which kind of introduced you to basically transporting stuff across the cell. So let's take a look, and I'm just going to go over a couple. So let me shrink this down. I'm just going to go over a couple key things as to why this is important. Okay, we've got a couple pictures here. So here's a picture of basically our lung. So this would be the alveoli in our lung, if you remember from 11U bio. So this is at the very terminal end of your lung. You're going to bring in oxygen in here. So this is just kind of a cavity that's open up. Okay, and you're going to have oxygen inside here when you breathe in. Now this is a bloodstream that's basically surrounding your alveoli. Okay, and there's going to be an exchange in here. So what's going to have to happen is as you breathe in, you bring in a whole bunch of oxygen. So inside this little sac is highly concentrated oxygen. Well, things are going to try and move from an area of high concentration in the alveoli into an area of low concentration in the blood. So oxygen is going to diffuse from the alveoli and into the bloodstream, okay? Going from a high concentration, which is in the alveoli, to a low concentration in the bloodstream. Now the exact opposite is going to be for CO2. This blood that's coming around is going to be highly concentrated in CO2, right? It just removed it all from your muscles or from other parts of your body. So this blood is highly concentrated in CO2, very low concentration of CO2 inside the alveoli. So the same reason why oxygen diffused out of the alveoli into the blood, CO2 is going to diffuse out of the blood because it's highly concentrated in the blood and go to an area that it doesn't have very high concentration in the lungs. And then we expel that out. Right? Now this is kind of a big picture of it, but let's take a little bit closer as to what's going on. So as CO2, this is inside the bloodstream right here. So these are red blood cells. And then this is the alveoli. Okay, so comparing it to our last picture. So this part right here in blue is where this part would be, and this bloodstream is just kind of a closer up view now. Now, this is why I wanted to show you this picture. Look what has to happen. CO2 has to go through cells. Okay, so here's a layer of cells here, and here's a layer of cells here, and CO2 has to go directly through 2 layers of cells, okay, to get out and into the lungs. Now, oxygen, it doesn't really show it here, but oxygen was here, and it has to go through this layer of cells, then through this layer of cells, and then get attached onto a piece of hemoglobin here. Right? So what we're going to talk about is, well, how do these molecules go directly through cells? How are we passing directly through them? Sometimes molecules are going to stay inside the cell, but in this case, they're going to go right through. And that's what we're going to talk about. Well, when they go right through, they're going to have to cross what we call the plasma membrane. So see this little part right here on the outside part of a cell. Okay, I'm going to give you a close-up of what that looks like, and that's right here. Okay? So this is the plasma membrane. So this is where oxygen would have to be, say, right here, and that's going to have to go directly right through this inside a cell and then go out it again. So we're going to talk about how things pass through this plasma membrane. And you can already see, well, there's a little channel here that things can pass. Not all things are going to pass through there. Right? Some things are going to go directly right through the membrane, such as like oxygen and CO2, and other things are going to have to use these channels. And that's what our next chapter is going to be about. So what I'd like you to do today, okay, is I'm not going to have you really do any work today in terms of writing or anything like that, but I'd rather you to take a look at our next content. So we go to content, and we're now on our second chapter. So we go down, there's the end of activity 1, there's a summary that you should be doing. Here's our activity 2, expectations, content 1. This is what you're going to do assignment 1 from, the cell's organelles. And this is what we're on, the cell membrane. It's called the fluid mosaic model. Okay? And why it's called the fluid mosaic model? Just because there's a bunch of things inside the plasma membrane. It's not just a pure membrane. There's proteins and everything labeled inside here. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to read through this. Okay? Make sure you spend some time actually reading through it. I would click on these links, take a look, and these are the things I'd like you to add to your notes. Now, with your portfolio, it's really just your notebook. Okay, I'm not going to collect your notebook. So, it says a little bit later on that I might be collecting this. I'm not going to collect your notebook. Okay, we're a little bit past that right now. We're getting you prepped for university, and I mean, there's no way a professor is ever going to ask to see your notebook. So it's on you to keep a good notebook, and it's one of the keys to being a successful student is to keep a good notebook. So I'd like you to describe these things in your notes. You're definitely going to want to have a definition of these, and spend some time going through this. This is going to be a big part of our next chapter, and the background or the basics, which you're going through today, is really key. Okay, so that's all I'd like you to do today. Make sure you have your lab report in. You can be working on that summary and then working on that first assignment, which is due Friday. Okay, other than that, hope you guys have a good day. Welcome back.